Hey, how's it going? Josh here, and this is episode 3 of Tek With Josh. This episode is titled New Era for the Internet. What do I mean, New Era for the Internet? What's different? We still use it for the same thing, streaming, watching YouTube videos, looking up recipes, using it for navigation to find places. Well, it's being changed in a big way that might not affect you, but it's going to affect most of the population. Not really in the world, but mostly the United States right now. And that is through new providers such as Starlink and T-Mobile. Why is this a big topic, you might be asking yourself? Well, to get started, I want to talk about something: monopolies. So, a lot of cable companies and internet companies have monopolies in certain areas, which means they're the only provider there for internet. In the past, they were the only provider for TV other than satellite, and with satellite, you had to install satellite on your home. And if you live in an apartment building, that's not something you can really do. So people were stuck with the one provider. And because of that, they were forced to pay whatever rate was offered and take whatever speed that they are given. And I don't know about you guys, but it's 2021, and most of the rural areas in the United States don't have high-speed internet. Heck, even Hollywood in California doesn't have it. The Hollywood Hills. You don't believe me? Well, there was a story in the Times last year that a customer of AT&T doesn't even have high-speed internet. His speed is capped out at 3 megabytes. And his family had been doing business with AT&T for over 50 years. Sure, after the post went viral, because it came on the LA Times and things like that, AT&T did install fiber in his neighborhood, but what about those that don't have their stories heard? What are they to do? And think about farmers. And when I was in Texas driving to Colorado, there was times that we didn't even have light. And this was throughout the night. I feel sorry for them, because what if they don't have internet, high-speed internet? And HughesNet and things like that have data caps, and it's not that fast. I knew this one kid who had about 15 megabyte connection a couple years ago, and it was constantly going down, and the nearest pole to his house that had the internet that carried it to his home was a couple miles out. So if that pole went down, he wouldn't have internet or service for a while. So that's why right now, T-Mobile, we're going to touch on them first, is poised to change the industry in a big way in normal neighborhoods, such as mine's New York City. New York City has certain areas that are exclusive to certain internet providers, such as Optimum, Verizon, Time Warner. Those are the 3 major providers here. So there are certain buildings that can only get one provider because of contracts. So now T-Mobile is using 5G to bring high-speed internet to your homes. Verizon's doing it too, but not in the same capacity as T-Mobile, in my honest opinion. How are they doing this? Well, you know, a mobile hotspot, just like the thing on your phone that allows you to share your Wi-Fi, that's essentially what they're doing, but with a wireless gateway. A gateway is essentially a router with another function that converts a different type of signal to Wi-Fi rather than RJ45 Ethernet. So you can have a modem gateway that converts coaxial to Wi-Fi and Ethernet, or in this case, a cellular gateway that converts 4G and 5G into Wi-Fi and Ethernet. So, what is T-Mobile doing? They're providing a bigger hotspot in the form of a gateway router, and they're offering you 5G home internet with no data caps for $50 a month, all in, with automatic payment and paperless billing. What do I mean by no data caps? Well, here in New York, we don't really have data caps. We did years ago with like Earthlink, DSL. But in certain areas, things like Comcast, COTS, Charter, back in the day, they have a data cap. And if you go over that data cap, they bill you, like how cell phones do if you don't have unlimited plan in the past. And I don't know about you guys, but I use a lot of internet. Sure, the data caps can be like 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, but that adds up. If you're streaming a lot, playing a lot of games, uploading videos on YouTube, doing whatever, or have multiple users in the home, you can find out that that's not a lot of internet. And so far, the reviews state T-Mobile has no data caps and people use over a terabyte with no problem. And a big thing is there's no contract. What is a contract? Well, a contract is literally a contract, but for your service. So, if you break the contract, you have penalty fees. Prime example, Verizon, in the past, if you broke the contract, it was like $350. If you broke after 1 month, and it's a lower down payment, each month it declines. So it'll go down by $20 each month until the end when it's $0. They don't do that anymore as of last year, but there's some providers like DirecTV that have contracts for their TV. There's some internet providers that have contracts, but T-Mobile has no contracts. And what do you have to pay up front? Just the service, essentially, because the equipment, there's no equipment fee. If you cancel, you do have to return the equipment, or you do have to pay for it. It's like $300. Don't quote me on that, but the whole thing is upfront. You don't have to pay for installation. Normally, with traditional internet providers and cable companies, you have to pay for a technician to come out and install it, which costs gas, hourly wages, things like that. Then you have to rent them equipment for $10, $15 a month, even $20 for certain equipment. So this means for $50 a month, you can have everything. No equipment costs anything. The price won't go up, is what T-Mobile states. So it could be later on, it might cost more, but if you get it now, you're grandfathered in. I've seen this a lot. Just like old school AT&T unlimited plans, grandfathered in, or Verizon unlimited. The whole thing is the speeds. That's what matters here. Well, the speeds, the problem with 5G is it depends how close you are to a 5G node or 5G cell tower. It's not really a tower, it's a little thing on telephone poles on rooftops. But how close you are to that node and what type of 5G are you getting? Millimeter wave or regular 5G? Millimeter is ultra wideband. Doesn't penetrate as far, but it's higher speed. And because of this, if you're in a poor coverage area, your speeds can be bad. You can have speeds 40, 50 megabytes, which is fast and decent, and for a lot of people that's more than what they have now. But it is not high speed in the sense like home internet is, whereas the basic package is normally 100 megabytes or higher. But if you're in a great area, you can get speeds of 500, 600. But theoretically, if you're in the average area, expect speeds around 150, 200 megabits per second. Upload, not as fast. Anywhere from 15 to 100 depending on signal strength. And ping is acceptable about 20 to 35 milliseconds. Not too bad. And the equipment, the gateway, has 2 Ethernet ports, no port forwarding, nothing fancy, but hey, it's there. There's overheat, things like that, but like I said, for the price point, and if you want to get away from your current carrier, it's a great alternative. But like I said, this is for bigger cities, things like that. It's not really for the rural areas I was talking about earlier. Well, that's where Starlink comes in. What is Starlink? Starlink is Elon Musk doing another project. We know about his solar panels, we know about SpaceX, Tesla, his bricks, things like that. But he also has Starlink, which is satellite internet. I did mention HughesNet earlier, right? And HughesNet is a satellite provider for internet for like RVs, things like that, mobile homes, and you get DSL type speed, and it's very expensive. Well, Starlink is here to bring high speed to the masses through satellites, through an array of satellites. And since Elon Musk owns SpaceX and is constantly launching satellites into orbit, he can cover more area and give higher speed. The only thing about Starlink is it's a beta. What do I mean by beta? It has some issues right now. They're not as bad as they were originally, so speeds have improved. But with this, because it's satellite, you do have to have a satellite dish installed. You don't only have to install it on the roof, you can have it in your backyard, so you would need some area or a home to do this. So if you're in an apartment, this wouldn't be for you. But since this is really for the rural areas, we're not talking about apartment buildings, we're talking about farmers, motorhomes, things like that. So you have installed a base. You cannot move this with you. So if you're on the go, though, this is not for you because it has to sync up with the satellite. So as of right now, if you're living in like an RV and traveling to US, the continental US, do not get Starlink. It is not for you because once you drive your vehicle / home away from where you're parked right now, you will lose internet. So your setup, like I said, it's a beta. So right now the speeds vary from 50 to 150 megabytes. Upload 10 to 20ish. Ping about 40, 45 depending. And the rain and bad weather do affect the speeds. You still have access to internet. It's not as fast. It's the same as with DirecTV. In bad thunderstorms, my TV goes out with DirecTV line. My Verizon TV still works fine, but my DirecTV does pixelate with heavy rain. But the whole thing with this is it's internet. And like I said, it's for the rural areas, so what's the cost? It's a bit pricey, especially compared to the greatness of the T-Mobile home internet. So upfront you're paying $500, and it's $100 a month plus tax. Oh, I don't know if plus tax, just $100 a month right now. I'm going to research that. And you do get the router, their router with it, but just like with the T-Mobile one, it's alright. I always recommend getting your own equipment. But like I said, this is for those rural areas that don't have access to high speed. And high speed internet is what's making the world go around. So just the other day I was looking at some houses in Ohio and Mississippi. I don't know the internet situation there, but I know if I were to purchase a multifamily unit and do some house hacking there, I won't have the speed that I need compared to New York, you know? So something like T-Mobile home internet will be perfect for me there. And right now I'm not a T-Mobile customer. I use AT&T because I used to work there and things like that. And I just like what they offer more for their plans. But the whole thing is, we're changing the world. Just like the internet is changing TV because they're streaming, the internet's also changing the way we book hotels. We start doing Airbnb, traveling, doing everything on using the internet rather than the travel agent. The internet's forever evolving. Video calling. If we didn't have the technologies we had in place for video chats with the internet, this pandemic would destroy us. Even worse. Because of the internet, we've been able to live with this pandemic, and it's going to change the workplace. So having access to high-speed internet in more areas and at a cheaper cost in some areas is game changing. And that's why I decided to do an episode about it. Thank you, and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.